So the month of May, right? It's done, almost, at least. By the time this video's up, it will be. So what did your collection do in the month of May? How did it change? Did you buy a bunch of games? Did you back a bunch of games? Did a bunch of games arrive? Did you get rid of a bunch of games? A little bit of everything? Yeah, I mean, it's usually a little bit of everything. Let's be honest here. Turnover is not as big now on my side of the collection. I really am trying to keep it, you know, a little bit cleaner. I don't know how I'm doing this. My wife really doesn't like me now because all of a sudden I've had a bunch of review copies show up like all at once. And so that is like sitting upstairs on our kitchen counter. And so she is very graciously not yelling at me, but I know that it really drives her crazy because she doesn't like one piece of like paper sitting out on the counter usually, and it's like half full on one side of the kitchen. Anyway, so May is done. There are a bunch of upcoming games in June. I thought I'd give a little bit of a recap. My favorite games from May that arrived in the collection that I played. I don't think I lost a ton, so I'm not really going to talk about that too much. And then what I have upcoming, and then just, you know, what I backed in May and what I thought the best Kickstarters were, in my opinion, whether I backed them or not. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's do this. Okay, side note right there. First off, we'll just start right here before I jump to the screen. And I got a copy of Wild Assent with the two little Kickstarter expansions. One is like the stretch goals, one is like the terrain. And so I'm going to be trying to get that played in between, two of the other games that I have coming that are in process of working out right now as well. Witcher, which I have a copy of, and I'm going to be trying to play a bunch of, so I can give you guys a video and my thoughts and maybe some how-tos sort of in the first week of June, after the first maybe full week of June. So maybe in about a week from when this video comes out. And then also I'm going to be getting Deliverance, the one that is launching on June 8 as well, the Angels Demons side of things. And then that's sort of where Wild Assent fits in, because it is going to be delivering soon, I think, to backers. And it is also going to be, I think, the big thing that pushes me, if I really like it as much as I think I do, based on just reading the rule book so far, into the Storm Sunder depths, if you will. As I mentioned previously, like that was one of the ones I'd been sort of debating on. And I'm pretty much 95% that I'm doing the core pledge right now, at least for that. Beyond that, I think, is going to be the make it or break it. And I think that's really going to be, the big helper one way or the other of now, later, that whole side of things. Let's do this. Let's talk about what else came, what else I'm interested in, and what else was notable of May. Just thought I'd put a name to a face in case it wasn't obvious. This is Deliverance, miniature-based, Angels versus Demons, asymmetric powers, AI-driven dungeon crawl game, launching on June 8. Here's Wild Assent, same thing. And so that's going to be coming out. I will probably try to have that out maybe by the end of the month, because this one's going to require a little bit more overhead, because I want to be able to talk about the two different modes that are in the game, the hunt as well as the campaign, and just knowing my own schedule, there's no way I'm going to be able to have it out probably much sooner than the end of the month, but I want to try. But a few of these other things have a little bit more specific timetable, so it's going to be sort of mixed in there, but I'm going to try and have it out definitely in June. The other one that arrived is Destinies. Destinies from Lucky Duck Games. The RPG-esque, the app-based scanning system, campaign, story-driven, personal destiny, private hidden destiny game where you are trying to complete your destiny quicker or more efficiently, better, i.e., than the other players. The interesting thing is the rulebook is relatively light. Like, the rulebook is super light on this game, just like it was with Chronicles of Crime, which honestly surprised me because it's mostly app-driven. And so, again, I think that's going to be very interesting because I did not like it as much being driven in Chronicles of Crime with the app. Like, it just felt more app, less board game. And so I'm interested to see if this changes my opinion on this system, if this doesn't change my opinion on the system, what it's going to look like from that side of things. But I wanted to try this out, and they were gracious enough to send a copy for me to review. early other reviews, everyone seems to be most part liking it. So I have no idea. I try not to, as a sort of side note here, I try not to watch a lot of other people's reviews. Now, hear me out. Not because I don't want to watch them. Believe me, I want to watch them, but I also don't want to have my opinion biased or jaded based on what other people are saying, you know? I want to be able to give you my unique individual perspective, and I also don't want to echo what other people say. And sometimes I feel like, and I'm speaking from own personal experience here, if I read somebody else's positives or negatives, they stay ingrained in me, and then I view it through the same sort of kaleidoscope that they might, and I don't want it to prejudice me positively or negatively. So the main thing I look at, you know, as someone who is, you know, looking at stuff out there, I look at gameplay and I look at rule books, because that's the purest way for me to know, okay, what are my feelings on this? And because, I mean, honestly, that's how I base my own opinions, right? You base your own opinions on gameplay. And it'd be weird to base your own opinions on other people's opinions when you say it like that, right? So anyway, I saw this pop up on Twitter. I'll talk about it. Now, this is like the complete opposite end of the spectrum from the other like massive like IP campaign dungeon crawl-esque games that I just talked about. But it's Let's Make a Bus Route, the dice game. Like, I've been following this one for a while, and then all of a sudden I'd completely forgotten about it, but it popped up on Twitter, like other people like posting on like board game social media, like, ooh, I just bought this. Ooh, I just pre-ordered this. So this is probably my favorite, you know, roll and write-esque type game. I literally have the copy, you know, sitting right here next to me right now as I'm doing this video in order to do the review of it here shortly. So I'm not joking about that. I really do like that game. And so the only downside I have on this side of things is this game is only like 1 to 2 players. So it's also giving you 2 different maps, which is awesome, right? So that's the other thing that I was really intrigued by. But the solo side of things, as you've heard me say in the past, I'm not a big fan of. So it's going to be interesting to see, because this is a game my wife actually really likes Let's Make a Bus Route, and she just won last night when we played it, because the difference always seems to be we played a 4-player game and she won because she got the secret route, like your secret personal route. Like, I never get it. She always gets it, and I usually end up losing. I'm not going to say it's causation, but is it correlation? Maybe. But I kind of want to see if we're going to like the dice game. It was probably more expensive than what it's worth, to be honest with you, when shipping was factored in, because they're shipping from Japan. But that's really exciting too, because that's honestly big news, because they have not been willing to ship directly to individual people overseas in the past, and their web shop now allows for that, which is probably the bigger news rather than just the game itself. And so hopefully we'll be able to get a lot more of these imports more directly, even if the cost is a little bit more in the future. The other thing that was a surprise this month is I just got a copy of Red Rising as well from Stonemaier Games. They sent out an email, and this was one of the things that they had available for reviews. So I jumped on it because I do like heavy card tableau building games. And it was funny. I was unboxing it and just like looking through the stuff the other day, and it came in the mail, and it was right before my wife's birthday, and she's like, oh, hey, you know, I saw you got that game. And I was like, oh yeah, I got it for review purposes. And she's like, oh, interesting. She's like, I actually have read that series and I liked it. And I was like, oh, right. I was like, oh, that's good. And so she's like, yeah, I'd be willing to try it out with you. So hopefully we'll get that played to the table. And I was a little bit surprised when I was reading some of the rules. It's a little bit more detailed and nuanced in terms of the depth of the rules. I was expecting it to be a little bit lighter because the rule book as well is not that long, and I'll be interested, and I'll be trying to get this one out in a review this month as well. I'm trying to think what else I got, but I know I got Enchanters. I got the East Quest expansion, which, I don't know. I had a bad experience with the Overlord's base game that I have when my wife and I first tried to play it. Like, we picked like exactly the wrong combination of things, because this game is basically like you just take a combination of these different sets, mush them all together a la like Marvel Legendaries, and then try to defeat monsters by collecting. And you have these 2 piles, the attack pile and like the defense pile, and you overlay them, and the stats from previous cards sometimes carry over, so you're building up. And Anyway, it left us both a little bit wanting, but I'd already backed this expansion, and I just finally got it because it was a weird thing with Mythic. Like, the email that they sent to me was sent to the spam folder, but it was also in French. And because they are dual linguists on that side of things, so they offer everything in like French and English. But the email, which was really strange, was also purely in French. I had to actually search for it after they said what it was, so that was strange. But this expansion was, if you just ordered this expansion and you didn't like order like one of the bigger all-in sets, they had some issues with production, so they had to do, if you just got this, you had to like do it through a German company separately months later, as opposed to the one I think that they used over in China where they did it separately and included it in the bigger box sets. So I had to wait. Even if I would have gotten and noticed that more immediately, I still would have been months behind the others. So I haven't had a chance to unbox this at all or unpack it. And so I just don't know if I'm going to end up keeping Enchanters because it's that light style that I like. But like I said, it left with a bad taste. So I'm hoping that subsequent plays are better because I really want to like it. Because again, this will be another easy one to get to the table with the kids. There's not a lot of reading. There's not a lot of overhead. You know, you could teach them a little bit of the symbology and it'd be straightforward. So we'll see what happens with that one. So you can see right here, this is what I'm backing right now. I am currently backing The Witcher, the deluxe level, as I talked about in my roundup video. I am also currently backing Paperback Adventures. Again, you know, it says solo word game, and word games scare me because we were just talking the other night that I don't have any other word games in my collection for a reason, right? But now I know that they're doing the 2-player mode. I'm still a little worried about it, and I'm not completely sold on it, as unique as some of those mechanics look. So we'll kind of see what ends up happening with that. Same thing with The Witcher. I think my playthroughs are going to be really telling about what I'm going to do. And, you know, I want to see what the deluxe is going to offer because I am not sold on the deluxe portion yet. I am probably most likely going to get the base because, I mean, you're getting the expansions, but so the value is going to be there. But deluxe versus not, this is a lot more complicated than a lot of the other campaigns where you almost always, and this is almost always my advice, to go deluxe, especially like Euros and worker placements and like that sort of stuff. So the only thing I actually backed that ended in May was Marvel United X-Men. And I know I said previously, like, I'm going to be all in, but I am struggling with this for good reason, because I hate the fact that they did it again. They pledge locked some of the stuff. And I hate the fact that they did it for me as someone just getting the X-Men stuff. Like, I'm looking at you, old man Logan. But I also hate that they kind of did it with the old stuff, right? If you want to get the stretch goal box from the first Kickstarter campaign, you have to get like the all-in from the first Kickstarter campaign. They are not allowing you to piecemeal that like they are a lot of the other expansions. So honestly, I don't know what I'm going to do. The Apocalypse Pledge was a no-brainer for me, and several of the expansions I think are going to be no-brainers as well. But if you're going to get like 3 of the expansions, it's almost worthwhile to get all of the expansions in terms of price and in terms of recouping your money, or even more than breaking even. Because that's what we've seen with the first time around. Now, I mean, Days of Future Past with the Sentinel, it's also Kickstarter exclusive, okay? Fantastic Four, also Kickstarter exclusive. Deadpool, less sold on that. Blue Team and Gold Team with the individual teams that you can play, I'm really digging that, even though they're not exclusive. They only have one of the exclusive sculpts in them, and I think the 2 bad guys in there are much more unique than what may be let on. And the problem is I don't really have any interest in First Class, but it's exclusive. I like the Phoenix 5 because I think it offers a whole variety of other ways to play it. That's exclusive. Don't care about the tokens. Not sure about the playmat. Don't care about the cardboard stuff. So, I mean, that's sort of where I'm split. Check out my full video that I did about should you back and what should you back if you're interested. But we'll see what I'm going to do. Pledge Manager hasn't been sent out yet, so I have no idea what I'm actually going to do when push comes to shove. It's probably helped that I split, only pledging 100 now, and I can do whatever later, but it's still going to be a make or to break it for me. We'll go through a quick things I didn't back and why. I did not back Monster Hunter the board game. I just, for that price, with having Primal, with looking at the other things that are coming up that are similar, I just couldn't commit to that. And, you know, maybe that's going to be the price difference of me getting Marvel United. So I think it's going to be a fine game. I think it's going to be better than probably all of their other games that they have previously put out. But I just didn't like the way it was coming together, personally, mechanically wise, and I just couldn't feel confident enough for me that it was a good fit. But I think, like I said, it's going to be better than all their other games. I think you've already seen more than all the other games combined that they put out during the campaign. So I think it's going to be relatively solid in that sense. Station Fall, I just couldn't end up backing it. For the price and for the overhead, like, I have a hard enough time because I am the rules teacher, obviously also in my group, because I'm also the game supplier. And with a game that had this much overhead, I just couldn't commit to it at this price right now. This is a game, though, that's going to stay on my wish list, and I'm going to try and trade for when it comes out and when backers get it. I mean, it's not a game I'm disinterested in either. Like, nothing put me off. It's just right here, right now, I couldn't commit to it. And that's more because of my own playstyle and the group's playstyle. And the miniatures, I'm not concerned about missing out on those either. So, it's going to be on my list. I'm going to be looking for it in the future, but I just didn't do it at this point. Last up is Vivid Memories. I give a shout out here to Ben Harkins, because I screwed up and I actually forgot to cancel my pledge. And I realized that about a couple hours after the campaign ended. And I emailed him and he gave me a refund within like less than 12 hours of me emailing him. So talk about good customer service and good responsiveness. I cannot say enough. And I think this is going to be a very solid game. I think this is a next level complexity, like Azul, that style of semi-abstract, but not really at the same time. But again, for my playstyle, it's a little heavier, and I just couldn't see that fitting in right now. And it's just too heavy for probably my wife to be super interested in, and a little bit too nuanced in that way. And the game group, if I'm playing something heavier, we tend to play things that are more take that, a little bit more chaos, a little bit more of the other stuff that I've mentioned even already in this video. So it concerned me because this is also not one that my kids will probably be old enough for as well. So it just sort of fit in that gap that I didn't really need filled. And I'm okay with that right now. Again, this is another one just like Station Fall, though, that with the deluxe version, I'm probably going to try trading for in the future so I can try it out that way. But because, again, I think it's going to be a very, very good game. So, yeah. I don't really think I culled anything. I ended up doing... Actually, you know what? I did. I ended up doing the Board Game Geek math trades. If you haven't checked out math trades, it's high risk, high reward. You really need to be specific. You also see terrifying stories of people not being careful and ended up getting stuff that they didn't want. But I ended up trading my copy of Teotihuacan with one of the small box expansions for a copy of the new version of Ginkopolis. So I think it was a win-win because I think they actually got a better value money-wise. But I think Ginkopolis, assuming I actually like it, it has those aspects of the gameplay that I do enjoy, even though the rules may be a little bit more nuanced and complex initially in terms of learning how to play it, even though it's not like super complicated, but the depth that's there, I think, creates that. So as long as that is worked out, I think it was a win-win. I think the other person is happy because they got the game and the expansion, because I think it's been hard to get now all of a sudden. It's like in between printings or something. So people are selling it at a markup that I saw on Facebook. So he clearly got he or she clearly got the value, like monetarily better. But in terms of what's going to hit the table and what I'm going to want to keep in my collection, like I said, like I don't want to keep things that I'm just not interested in playing, as good or as well thought of as they are. That's why I almost considered trading or selling my copy of Kingdom Death Monster. That's a whole nother video, though. I said almost, because I've still got Wave 3 stuff coming, when it gets here in like 2025, right? And so we'll see what happens with that. If the Gambler's Chest can teeter me off the edge or if it's going to tip me over. But apart from that, that's, I think, about it. I'm sure I forgot one or two games that I ended up getting. I'm sure I forgot a few things that are worthwhile mentioning. I didn't even talk about what I played. We talked, everything else. So, what did we play this month? Oh, that's right. We did play Zombie Teens Evolution. I bought that for the kids for my 7-year-old 7th birthday back in February. So we finally got it played a bunch, and the kids are finally getting into it. Secret Envelopes is the most highly underrated mechanism in games across the board. So we are like almost 20 games in now. We've got about half the stuff unlocked. They're really digging it. There's a little bit of everything. It's definitely harder than Zombie Kids Evolution. It's probably going to be up there, probably number 1 or number 2 in kids games overall by the time it finishes like climbing the charts. And both of them have my high recommendations. We've played Pokemon. We've played a few other things. Scooby-Doo. We have this little Scooby-Doo board game. Adult-wise, we just played Flick of Faith. I'm going to be doing a review on that as well. Flick of Faith, I'll put it right here. The tagline is going to be the best dexterity game you probably have never played, or even maybe heard of. I like it that much. The expansion, I'm going to be probably getting that now, unfortunately. And then we also ended up playing, obviously, a lot of Marvel United. Some Marvel Legendary. That got the kid back into Marvel Legendary as well, so we did a little bit of that. Hidden Leaders, we did some of that when the Kickstarter was going. And then we also did Everdell, which also, again, another one that's on the short list of get reviews. And then the last one, also, again, on the short list of reviews, right, is Garinto, the abstract game, which I was pleasantly surprised by. I'm going to need a couple more plays to kind of see where it falls in terms of the abstracts for me. But it was more thinky than I thought it was going to be, and in a pleasant way, but I think it's definitely going to be better at higher counts. So, yeah. I think that's about everything. I've name dropped all of the stuff that you can expect to see, hopefully over the next month, in terms of videos from my channel, in terms of reviews and thoughts and comments on. As always, you're going to have the Friday, Saturday roundup and upcoming Kickstarters, and then a little bit of everything else, a little news here and there, a little pop-up this and that and whatever. So there you go. That's my month of May in a nutshell. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Have a great week. See you around.